Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this fall release webinar. My name is Shay Castle. I'm the Customer Marketing Manager at Terminus. We have a lot of awesome content to walk through today, but before I hand things off to Derek and Brian, I want to mention a quick couple housekeeping notes. The first is that we will be doing a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So you can submit questions on the GoToWebinar control panel through the questions tab. And then we'll also be recording today's session and sending out via email afters. So please keep an eye out for that. And I'll hand things off to Derek and Brian.
Awesome. Thank you, Shay. Hey, everybody. First of all, thanks for taking the time to join us today. We're really excited to share with you what we've been working on under the hood here at Terminus. My name is Derek Slayton. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Terminus. I'm joined by my counterpart, Brian Brown, who runs our product group as our Chief Product Officer. I'm going to try to set us up. Brian's going to knock us down here today with all of the stuff that's coming. And we're really excited to dive in and share what we've done with you. First off, just to kind of take a step back, one thing I know I recognize as a practitioner, and I'm sure you all do too, is that we're having this challenge with data. Data is everywhere. You have a ton of first-party data about your accounts and contacts. You're collecting more and more of it every day around their behavior, maybe their product usage, the way they're interacting with you. And there's a treasure trove of third-party data, signal, intent, behavioral data on the World Wide Web in general that's available to you as well, but it's not always where you need it. And really one thing we've focused on a lot here at Terminus with our Account Hub is how can we help you pull that data together, reconcile it to an account, and then put it into action. Because pulling it together is one thing, but great companies succeed by being able to quickly put that data, that signal, that behavior into action in market in a very fast fashion. And that's one thing that we built our technology to try to help and solve for you. And one of the things that's tied up in this fall release is the use of our Account Hub, and how do we make our Account Hub more extensible for folks that aren't on Salesforce. Our Account Hub has historically been tied directly and deeply into the Salesforce platform, and with the beginnings of the fall release, we really focused on how can we open up the Account Hub and make it more extensible for folks that either aren't on Salesforce, are list-based, are on other CRMs, or can't get the keys to their CRM system. So if you haven't turned on the Account Hub as a customer, I'd encourage you to do so. A lot of the functionality you're going to hear about in the fall release is tied into the experience with the Account Hub. Getting your data into there helps you collect better signal, better intent, and do better segmentation around the accounts that you've already picked. So please do work with your CSMs to get that Account Hub turned on. As I mentioned, we've made it even easier for you to do it with this release. And it is kind of core to a lot of what we're going to cover in the Terminus Fall Release. So looking forward to having you dig in on that. And moving into what's coming with the release and what's already arrived. Look, this is a kind of an interesting release process we have as an agile shop and as a SaaS platform. We release stuff fairly regularly. I'm sure Brian would tell me it's more than fairly, it's really regularly. And what we've tried to do with this fall release vehicle is roll up all of those capabilities, that many of which have been released for a number of weeks now, some of which will be coming off the truck, so to speak, in another couple of weeks. But we wanted one bigger release vehicle so we could communicate more broadly what's new, how you get access to it, how you turn it on inside of your Terminus experience. Our strategic priorities for this release were really broken into three main pillars. The first of which is kind of how do you drive demand with brand, and how do you stay true to your brand positioning while still being able to track later stage down funnel activities back to the account and the people you're serving a brand message to, and that way justify the need to continue to drive brand driven advertising as opposed to focusing on measurable advertising, which can focus too much on clicks and not enough on the right value proposition and the right brand promise. The second is, how do we take all this account intelligence we just talked about, this treasure trove of data, and put it into action quickly and automatically within your account-based efforts? How do you use intent and signal and fit data to drive behavioral driven ads and net new account discoveries for your sales team to engage with? And then lastly, how do you measure everything all in one place? Without measuring account-based marketing, it becomes increasingly difficult to continue to fund it. We've always focused on measurement as a key piece of our platform, and really with this release have continued to evolve how we make it capable for you to drive marketing influence reporting, attribution reporting, and tying back all of your account activity into an account-based scorecard that trends over time, and making sure you have the tools you need to show your sales leaders, your executives, how account-based marketing efforts are moving the needle in terms of driving the right accounts into pipeline and into becoming customers. So without further ado, we'll dive into each of those areas in more detail. And to do that, no one's better at it than my counterpart, Brian. So I'll ask him to pick up the demand to brand talk track and help you understand what we're doing inside the product for that.
Great. Thanks, Derek. Super excited to be with you all on the webinar today. We've been building fast and furious based on the market and the customer feedback, and just you guys have been so wonderful as customers to kind of help us on this journey as we seek to build, just an amazing product and capability to help you guys. One of the things that we've heard loud and clear is, as marketers, you've really wanted the ability to prove that brand advertising works. When you're using Terminus to target accounts, and you're targeting the right personas and you're doing all these things, but then there's this big disconnect from that open opportunity, and how do you sort of quantify that the brand advertising had this impact on what you're doing? And so that's a big part of this fall release. To kind of explain what we did, I need to take you kind of under the hood a little bit of the Terminus platform and talk about our account graph technology. The entire platform is built on top of our account graph. This is a tremendous data asset, sort of data capability that interprets all the signal on your website, the signal in your CRM, all the interactions happening through your marketing automation system with your prospects. It takes in third-party data, and it pulls it all together, and it creates this understanding of an account. Now, when you think about that, right, and you think about the Terminus platform ability to kind of understand an account that you're working or you're learning about or you're trying to go to market to, one of the key parts of that data is the ability to understand people in that account as they're browsing the web. And when we think about it from a digital advertising perspective, this becomes critical to that idea of brand driving demand, right? And so if we can help you get your brand out in a really powerful way, making a big impact on each person that you're targeting, then we can drive them to your site. And then the next step is we need to be able to measure that they got to your site. We all know that roughly 80 to 85% of people don't actually click on ads. They see them, they experience the ad, they experience the brand, but a lot of times they come indirectly then and engage with you on your website. And so part of the fall release, just a couple highlights. We made significant improvements and enhancements to ad targeting, specifically when it comes to more deterministic data around accounts that we target with digital ads. So leveraging higher quality signal, we put a lot more AI and tuning into how we target when you're doing ads in Terminus and who gets targeted. So if you think about the reach number in Terminus, that number is a lot more efficient today with the fall release, with these new enhancements and this account graph technology at the center of that. In addition, you may see things like you'll see improvements in certain kinds of company sizes. So our ability to fine tune on senior decision makers at large companies has improved as well. So we're more precise on the seniority levels in those companies. So you're going to see a significant sort of increase in your ability to get results when you're doing things like senior decision makers at large companies. You're also going to see improvements to our ability to reach more broadly across all the accounts you put in a tactic. So if you put 500 accounts in a tactic, and today you might see that some of them, they don't have a lot of reach. Maybe you're targeting senior decision makers in a certain department, and you have a few accounts that you only spent a couple dollars on. We've tuned the algorithms and the processing so that we'll be better able to spend broadly across all the accounts. So the end result is the new Terminus is going to deliver higher quality, more brand impacts across more of your accounts, pushing those people to the website. When they get to the website, we also enhanced our visitor ID technology. We call it Visitor ID 2.0. It's a significant upgrade in the infrastructure and the technology we use to identify more of the anonymous people on your site, connecting them to the accounts you have in your CRM system using this account graph technology. So those are some of the highlights on that. Now, let's get back to this idea of demand from brand, right? So you're doing this brand advertising in Terminus. How can we make it easier for you to measure that, right? Every one of you wants to know, what is the impact of the $2,000 I spent last week in Terminus advertising? I want to be able to quantify that. And we wanted you to be able to quantify it as well. So we tackled this problem head on, built a ton of new infrastructure and technology to be able to connect the data that we have when we're advertising. So when someone's browsing the internet, they hit the Wall Street Journal, the bidding system says, hey, this is someone that our customer wants to bid on. They're in their target account and their target persona. We bid on that person, we serve an ad, and we can actually maintain the digital sort of footprint of that person. So if they come to your website 5 days later, right, they saw the ad, they didn't click it, but then a day later or later that day or 5 days later, they go to Google, they search in, they remember, you put that brand impression on them, they remember it, they come back to your site. This is where traditional technology sort of fails marketing, right? You get no clue that that brand impression influenced this form fill or this website visit. And so inside of Salesforce, you would just see a lead source and it would say something like, Google pay-per-click, a webinar form fill or something, right? And you just completely kind of miss that first brand awareness side of the story. So we've connected the dots now. Our technology now understands that the person who saw the ad is the person on your site. And we've built a whole bunch of new metrics that will let you actually quantify in Terminus your ability to drive demand with brand.
And I think Brian, when I look at it as a user, that ability to be both confident that I'm able to reach the accounts I want to reach, so I can spend more aggressively there, and being able to track back the effect of brand advertising on future activity, which has historically been just such a challenge in terms of maintaining those advertising dollars, is really, really exciting. We're doing it ourselves on Terminus within my team to use the new functionality, and we've seen some dramatic improvements in terms of who we're able to reach and how we're able to measure what those people do later on in their day, later on in their week, which we know is tied to the brand experience we give them through the digital ad. So really exciting stuff. And I know, Brian, your team shows up every day just hammering away at this to make the reach better, the targeting more precise, and then the ability to track it through uniquely, which is really, really cool to see. So it's really, really nice stuff.
Yeah, well, we love it. So it's incredibly exciting to share. I think probably now, Derek, why don't I just jump in and we'll actually demonstrate some of this new technology.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So inside of Terminus, when you have this view through visit and view through conversion technology turned on, you'll have this new link up here called conversions. You click into it and you're going to get a whole feed of the conversion data that Terminus is now tracking. The feed is broken up into two kinds of conversions. A view through visit is someone who has seen ads and now just directly goes to your homepage, or they just find their way to your site, but they maybe don't do something specific that you're hoping for, like they don't fill out a contact form, or they don't go through some gate or download some piece of important content. That becomes a view through visit. View through conversion are things that you'll specify in our software that says, hey, if they go to this page, I want to count that as a conversion. Maybe it's a form gate, or maybe it's just a premium piece of content that you want ungated, but it constitutes a conversion. So let's go ahead and look at some view through visits here for a second. So if I scan down this list real quick, I can see accounts, right? These are people I'm targeting. I can see the tactics I'm targeting them in. So if I look at corporate finance associates, I got a view through visit on October 22nd, and I've been advertising to them in two different tactics, and they have seen ads. The last time they saw an ad prior to October 22nd was 3 days before. So this gives you sort of like this sense of like, that sort of recency of the brand impression to the downstream outcome, which is the view through visit. Now, let me show you, let's just do a couple other examples here. Let's dive into, we'll go into conversions for a second. And let's look for a specific company. So maybe you want to say, oops, no, visits here. So maybe you're looking for, did I get a conversion from a specific company? Okay. So I typed in BMC, I've got 2 view through visits. So what this means is 2 different people have come through this path, or the same person on different occasions, and they've seen ads. So these are the tactics that have been running. And there was a visit on October 13th, and 2 days before that they had seen ads, and there was a visit on October 15th, and 4 days before that they had seen ads. So you can get the sense of, you know, the ability just to see like the performance of these ad programs and brand driving people through. Now, one thing I really like to do is to go ahead and sort on days to conversion. Okay, all of these 0 days to conversion are people who saw the ad and came to the site within the same day. And if I click down a little bit, you can see I've got a total of 282 view through visits that have been identified back to Terminus advertisements. These ones are really exciting to me. These are 1-day conversions. So these are people who saw ads and within 1 day were on your site, right? So as a marketer, like this is high signal that the brand is driving the demand. Now you get to control the look back window, which I'll show you in a minute. So when it comes to conversions, all right, now I've got people who've taken a specific action. These are actions that you'll register in Terminus, and we'll track them as a conversion moment. And you can see, you know, different companies that are converting. You can see what they converted on. So data.com converted on this info page we have for our new Bombora offering, and it was a 0 day. So they saw the ad and they were on the site relatively quickly. Now you may want to say like, well, I wonder how a specific page is performing. So let's go ahead and look at a contact us kind of page, right? So I type in contact, now I'm searching all the URLs, and I can see that I got a view through conversion on a contact page from an account that we're targeting, and I can see what campaigns, what tactics they've been in. So this is a tremendous step forward for account-based advertising, really conquering that sort of challenge of brand impact on demand, and making it incredibly easier for customers to be able to just measure the performance, right? So,
and stay focused, Brian, and stay focused on the right message, right? Like when you're measuring to a click, you're trying to drive an advertisement that drives a click, and that may not be the best thought to put in the head of your target customer, you know. And when you can focus on the value prop or the specific message that account needs to see, we do see them engaging more, you know, more frequently on other channels, which is what's critical to justifying why we should continue to advertise. So, you know, I think it's really powerful stuff.
That's exactly right. So let me just kind of jump back to the slide and we'll just kind of tie it all back. So when it comes to this new technology for tracking digital ads, ability to drive demand, we have view through visits and view through conversions. The first thing you're going to do when you get this capability enabled is you're going to want to configure your look back window and what pages constitute a conversion. You don't need to list any pages across your site that you just want as a view through visit. So we're going to track view through visits by default. So that part makes it really easy for marketers. They're going to have that piece kind of out of the box. Once that look back window is set up, we'll start tracking the data, and we'll be quantifying all the advertising impressions that are linked to page visits and conversions. And then you'll have that new report where you can go in and measure it. So, you know, think about it, come in on a weekly basis, pull down the last 7 days, pull out a list, and you've got, you know, sort of a hit list of, hey, this is what Terminus did for us in the last 7 days. Our advertising is working, we're driving conversions, we're driving view throughs. One of the things that got me most excited when we had this, we had a handful of customers testing this feature out, and some of those customers were like, I had no idea that Terminus had provided essentially 20 to 30 to 40 actual conversions, actual form fills, but it was just never trackable before. And so they just had no idea. So super exciting. You get this turned on and you'll be able to see what Terminus has been doing for your programs.
That's great. So moving on to the second bucket, and I know we want to make sure we get through this, but I'm just personally really excited about the stuff Brian was sharing with you on the last couple slides. But as we talked about in the beginning, the ability to aggregate this data is powerful, but it's companies that can put it into action quickly and automatically that win and set the table. And when you're able to put your brand positioning out in front of prospects that are very early in their cycle, we know that those companies tend to win more often than not. And we've done a lot of stuff in the fall release to kind of make it easier for you to aggregate that data. Brought new data to the table in terms of what we've done with Bombora to bring that intent behavioral data into the product in a native way so that you can use it to drive segmentation, targeting, list building activities, but also using that to drive automatic tactic changes, message changes, and ad delivery concepts through the product based on that data and that signal. Just a lot of stuff we're doing in this automation space around account intelligence. Bombora and our relationship there is obviously pretty unique in the market. I know intent data is something that many people have been considering or even using, but many people have been unsure of how they would put it into action. And I think we've solved for a lot of that challenge with what we've done by integrating it into the account hub. So we want to spend some time and just kind of share with you how that looks now, how you put it into use, and what other capabilities you can use in the product to drive automation through the process of digital outreach and sales outreach together.
Yeah, that's great, Derek. And I think, for our customers on the phone, many of you have already turned on the Bombora intent component of the solution and are already seeing the results. So I want to, for those of you who have not done this yet, a sort of a big plug here, you need to use this. The Bombora intent data inside of Terminus, it's frankly never been easier to actually run behavioral campaigns, dynamic ad nurtures, and other things, like sales activation. Imagine your sales reps being able to see the intent data of their competitor. So one of their accounts, they're working a deal, and suddenly that account shows intent for a competitor. Like, imagine what that can do for that sales rep to know how to go in and work that deal. So we've made it super easy to use. The data shows up in the account hub, like in the screenshot here. So you can build lists off it. You can make it available for sales reps through our account insights capability. And also, I think probably the biggest step forward in the fall release is having that data now available inside of the advertising part of our platform. So let me jump in and demonstrate exactly how that works. Okay, so when you go to launch a campaign in Terminus, a lot of you, if you're integrated with Salesforce, you're probably used to selecting Salesforce as the audience. Let's go ahead and walk through. We're going to build a quick test campaign. So if you're on the account hub, you're going to have this new option here to select your audience actually from the hub. This is super important. And over time, what you're going to see is all the capability that we have across these other options are all actually going to be available through the hub. So the hub becomes the sort of data point at which all the different things that we've connected through our account graph become available as you're building these audiences. So I'm going to go ahead and select Account Hub. And as Derek mentioned earlier on the webinar, for anyone who is using Terminus in a list-based way today, now is the time. You've got to get on the hub. And as you see this demo, you're going to understand why. You get on the hub, you get intent data, and you're going to be able to do some amazing things. So let's go ahead and jump in here, and I'll show you some of the things you can do. So I think of this as dynamic ad nurtures, right? You're going to target people with ads, but you want to spend your dollars at the right time based on the behaviors coming from that account. So the first thing I'm going to do in this example is, let's assume that you've created an account list, and maybe the list is based on like your total addressable market for some go-to-market strategy that you have. Like North America product line we're trying to launch this product line, we're trying to sell it in North America. And so you built this list of accounts. But the list of accounts might be fairly large. And just because they're in your addressable market doesn't mean that today is the day that these people want to wake up and buy your software. So this is where the dynamic nature of Terminus kicks in. Now I'm going to select Terminus from the list of options here. So all of these options that you're seeing here, all these things I can pick from, are all coming out of our account hub. It's data flowing from other software you have and from Terminus as well, now available in this really nice experience because you can kind of connect this and do it all from one place. So we were talking about intent data, right? So let's say what I want to do is I want to go after my TAM, but only when they're showing intent for the topics I care about, maybe in the last 30 days. What this is going to do is if somebody shows intent for something that means they're in market for your software, for your solution, they're going to get pulled in and they'll stay in here for 30 days. If they don't have intent after that, they'll get pulled out, right? If they continue to have intent, they'll stay in. So this becomes a really powerful way to leverage that behavioral data. You may also want to do things like pick an actual intent topic. So you can do intent topics. You can also do the same thing with engagement. So engagement is people on your site. So if you wanted to say like, I want to target people who are actually engaging on my site, not just showing intent for products like mine, you can do the same thing. So get accounts who've been on the website in the last 14 days, I'm going to double down on those accounts. So this is just some of the powerful tools available now with the behavioral data, whether it's intent or Terminus engagement data, that you can now use to dynamically prioritize within a bigger account list to get exactly the accounts that are important to you at that time. Another key feature, so sort of think about, using data and the account intelligence to drive actions. A big requested feature for our customers who started using our account scorecard. You'll recall that on the scorecard, there's a metric called engaged account. And you can kind of think of it like a marketing qualified account, an MQA, which basically means in this account, I've been advertising to them, I want to track when they become engaged. And that prior functionality, engagement meant that they've been on your website and they had a spike, an engagement spike of activity to say that, wow, they're engaged more than they have been in the past. And that's what we called this engaged account metric. It was like an MQA for accounts. Now, in the new fall release, it's not just web activity, but you can use all of the campaign responses that we pull in through marketing automation and Salesforce. You can even filter down to specific campaign types. So if you want to include things like, hey, if somebody had a demo, then that's engaged. If somebody responded to a bunch of campaigns we had, then that's engaged. You can also filter down on the websites and define what website engagement looks like. Is it a number of visitors? And you can even include things like intent. All of this then is derived into this metric of what an engaged account is, making it really easy for marketers to look at all the things they're doing in marketing, not just advertising, not just web visits, but everything they're doing, and quantify and roll it up into a metric called account engagement. That's one of the features on the scorecard, and I'm going to come back in measurement and hit the rest of the scorecard. Now what I'd like to do is talk about a few other key features that really deliver account intelligence to marketing and sales teams. This next feature is called Account Discovery. Account Discovery delivers a weekly email of companies visiting your website that are not yet in your CRM. So these are new accounts. And some of them are, if you think about all the companies visiting your website, they're not all good companies. You've got a lot of, people probably hitting your website. So what this new feature does is it allows you to tell us what a good company looks like. So you can specify some firmographic fit criteria. And then we'll filter all the visitors each week, find the ones that aren't in your CRM system that fit this criteria, and you'll get a weekly email of accounts that you should consider working. This could go directly to a sales lead. If you have an outbound team, this would be a great way to give them new accounts to focus on or help them prioritize. But this helps you kind of unlock demand that hasn't filled out a form yet. So these are sort of accounts that aren't in your CRM. You're getting ahead of those accounts earlier in their buying cycle, and you're able to go and activate your teams to work on those. Along those same lines, we really wanted to help sales reps improve their abilities to think in account-centric ways versus I got a new lead, I got another qualified lead, where's my form fills, right? And so this is a new capability. We can send emails directly to the rep who owns the accounts. So by bringing all that data into our account hub, including the sales rep owner, now we're able to deliver each rep on a weekly basis the accounts that they own that they should prioritize. When it comes to sales alerts, it's really important to think of the context of the rep that you're supporting. So your SDRs have different needs than your AEs. So let me actually walk in and show you the demo of our new sales alerts email, which is built to help reps understand the accounts they need to think about. So if I'm an SDR, right, and I'm looking at my alert from Terminus, I'm going to see the accounts that marketing has assigned to me that should be prioritized. So if marketing gave me a list of 500 accounts and said, hey, work on these for the next 2 months, that's kind of a tough job. What I'd rather do is know, is there some of the 500 that are going to be better for me to work on today and prioritize those? I'm going to do that using engagement. So I can see accounts that are engaged with our brand. These are companies on our website searching for products we sell, and I can even see who to talk to. So in this example, I've got an account here who's showing interest in, pretend I'm selling cloud computing software. That's what this account is showing interested in. But I may want to say like, well, I wish I knew who. And this is an account we've had in the CRM system for a long time. In fact, the last time sales touched this account was in 2016. And that's a long time ago. And it just so happens that Manuel, who is a contact or lead in this account, has recently been engaging with marketing. Manuel has been downloading stuff, attended a webinar, whatever it is, it made him an active contact. So not only does the SDR know that this is an account that I should prioritize, they know who to actually do their prospecting into. Now, if I put on an AE hat, right? AEs already know their accounts. So what does the AE get out of this new capability? The AE gets context, right? So if I already know the accounts I'm working on, what I need to know is, are they showing interest for a specific way, a specific kind of solution? So it helps me hone in my message. If I sell multiple products, multiple features, right, the intent data is going to kind of narrow me in on the things that are most important to this account. And it gets me context beyond the 1 or 2 people I have a conversation with. It gets me in the context of the broader account that's making this buying decision. It also gives me people to talk to as well. So if I know, who is most active, and you can even see competitor intent. So if you really want to, win this deal, it'd be really nice as a rep if you knew who you were up against, and intent unlocks that signal as well. So these are key data points, account intelligence that's really going to help your sales team, whether they're an SDR who needs to prioritize their accounts or an AE who needs the context for how to close those deals.
So Brian, not only are we kind of showing all of this activity inside the account record in Salesforce if the customer has the account insights function turned on, but we're also kind of netting it out at kind of top of the list awareness with the specific account reps through email, which, we've seen customers want both. Like, it's good to have it in the account record when reps are doing work on accounts, but they also want their reps to be alerted and proactively told these are the accounts to go spend some time researching and talking to, right?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Really cool stuff. So again, a lot of stuff there and kind of how we help you put, improved data into action in a more automatic way within the Terminus Account Hub and all the stuff we can do there. As we talked about at the beginning, none of this means anything if we don't measure it well. And helping marketers who are embarking on account-centric go-to-market be able to show their teams, their sales leaders, their senior leaders how account-based activities are tying to results that matter is really, really important. And as I mentioned at the beginning also, we have just a lot of capabilities here around how we pull data back out of the systems of record and reconcile it back to the lists you built in Hub so you can understand where accounts are showing progress. And we've done a lot of stuff inside of this release that helps further identify influence, attribution, and then trending over time. So we don't want to go into too much gory detail here, but there's a lot of gory detail. And we've got some highlights in the next couple slides to kind of walk through to close us off on the release.
So the first thing for those of our customers who are using our campaign analytics, which is the ability to do attribution on content, right? Tell me how are web forms performing versus webinars, and inside of webinars, which webinar was associated to the most revenue. We wanted to make it a lot easier for marketers to not get mixed up on which attribution model to run. So we literally just put 3 models always on. You don't have to choose a model and decide an approach. Like, we'll just give you the answers to each model in one place. So now in one place, you can see what does all my campaigns look like from a first touch aspect, from a last touch aspect, and from an overall multi-touch influence perspective. So you don't have to sort of pick and choose a model. Each model, models are important to answer different questions, and now you can answer those questions in a single view. In addition, we're making available the ability for our customers to see the overall influence that marketing is having on creating pipeline and on closing revenue. So this is a simple screenshot. There's a lot more to this. When you get your hands on it, you'll be able to slice and dice. But for example, let's say I had 2 key business segments. Let's say I was focused on enterprise and commercial, and I wanted to know how much of pipeline for the next quarter is being sourced, or not sourced, but touched. Like, marketing people in that pipeline are responding to marketing campaigns. I could simply add on a filter, say commercial segment, and I would see marketing's impact on creating pipeline where the campaign responses were part of those. And this will give you a benchmark for your own organization. So you might find in an organization that you're touching, marketing is able to touch 80% of pipeline and revenue, or maybe it's 90%, maybe it's 50%, but it gives you a benchmark, and then you can work to improve that to find sort of the right balance between marketing, getting people engaged, getting those people to respond, and then that creating pipeline. Now what I want to do is talk about our ability to trend account performance. So when you think about your account-based initiatives, and whether it's strategies where you've named 500 accounts and you're going to focus on them for the next 6 months, or velocity where it's like, hey, any account that meets these criteria, we care about it. You now have the ability to trend these accounts over time. And so there's a lot to cover here. I'm just gonna kind of go across a few reports so you can see. But in this example, what I'm looking at is across all my target account lists, I want to see the impact of brand advertising on creating engagement in accounts. So you think about that engagement metric we talked about, where I'm able to see how engaged an account is, see if they've sort of hit that threshold. Now I want to say, when they hit that threshold, are they influenced by advertising or not? And so down in the bottom here in this table, you can see how many of my engaged accounts in July, in the first week in July, came without advertising. And then you can see for accounts that had more advertising, like impressions of 1,000 to 2,000 advertising impressions for a given account, I got 2 of those accounts to become engaged. So it gives you the ability to see brand advertising driving that first step, which is getting people to engage with your content anonymously or known. From there, I might want to measure the ability to influence op creation. So if marketing is driving accounts to become engaged, and they're doing things like direct mail and webinars and blog posts and all kinds of stuff, including digital ads, including retargeting, and I'm getting those accounts to become engaged, Does engagement result in more ops created? This is the report that answers that question. So in this example, I can see for a given month, how many of the ops created came from accounts that were engaged versus accounts that were not engaged. Again, you're going to want to sort of put this in place, start to baseline, and then start to run programs that help to move the needle and see the way you're able to influence the business metrics by tweaking your marketing strategies and programs. From there, I might want to just track holistically across all the account lists I've created. I want to see ops created over time. So in this view, I'm grouping on my account lists. And so I might have an account list that says, enterprise, and one that says international, large accounts or something, or I might have a vertical in here. So now I can see across all my lists, what does op creation look like across those lists? And then wrapping it up here, the ability to take all kinds of account-centric metrics and put them on a dashboard. In this dashboard, I built a simple example to kind of make this point. So starting on the top left, we've got a card you can put on the dashboard that will show you of the target account list you're measuring or monitoring, how many accounts are in there and how has that trended. So in this example, I've got 2,800 accounts. It's up 105 from last month. The next dashboard tile is measuring of all my accounts, how many of them have become engaged. Using that new engagement scoring that we talked about, you can set a goal on this tile so you can create ranges and then track against your goal to see where you're at. The next tile on the top right is the ability to see of revenue that I've maybe pipeline created or closed won revenue, how are advertising impressions associated with that revenue? So if I look at the red here, I've got $140,000 of revenue that came in that did not have any influence of advertising. No advertisement was served on people in those companies that I closed that deal with. In the blue, I've got $847,000 of revenue that came on accounts that had more than 2,000 advertising impressions per account. So this would be a way for you to sort of go from the earliest sort of brand to the end result you're looking for and see if there's any correlations in what you're doing. On the bottom row, we've got pipeline created. You can set a goal. We can track against that goal. In the bottom center, I'm building a sort of trending and cumulative of total deals won. So this is opportunity count, like how many ops did we close of these target accounts up here over time. And then the last one is revenue by target account list. So if you're running, again, maybe you've got a 3-list strategy. So you've got like enterprise and commercial. So those are 2, and you've got everything else. Or maybe you've got 3 verticals or 3 product lines. Now you'd be able to see revenue broken out across those target account lists in a trackable way as well. So I know that's a really quick breeze through on the measurement stuff, but super excited to be bringing this to our customers.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. I think, and just personally from the CMO perspective, the trended stuff is really nice because we're always talking about not only where are the numbers today, but how are they changing over time as a key discussion point, and bringing that together is pretty important. So a lot of material, and thanks Brian for breezing through it. Hopefully you guys got a good flavor for what's available and are excited about talking to your CSM about how you're going to turn some of this stuff on if you haven't already. Just to kind of bookend it, as we mentioned in the beginning, this has been a labor of love, for lack of a better term. We've been releasing these features over the last several weeks, with a couple more to come out the chute, as I mentioned. There's stuff that's already in the product today, the intent data, the ability to dynamically nurture ads based on data, either intent or behavioral, some of the reporting capabilities that Brian just shared. And then we have stuff that's nearly there. And, again, if you're interested in that stuff, I'd just say connect with your CSM. There's some of these where we're looking for early adopters to help us put the final pieces together as we release the capability. And we want to get people turned on as quickly as possible when it does come out of the chute. So a lot to come still, but pretty excited about what we've done and /are doing with this fall release. But also, as we look forward, we're continuing to innovate around how we're helping customers drive even better account-based programs and account-based initiatives. And we have some exciting stuff we've already got planned and have engineers working away on for our release coming out in early 2020. And I know Brian is splitting time between talking about what we're doing and what we're going to do next. But I'd ask him to just kind of share with you guys what's coming down the chute kind of later on around the product as we head into the beginning of 2020. So what's up next, Brian?
For sure. Well, we never get to rest on what we built, right?
No,
so
just like marketing.
Just like marketing, it's like a new quarter always. Well, some exciting stuff. So we're going to continue the ROI journey. So that stuff we showed you with view through trackings and conversions, we're going to be bringing that all the way into the hub, building new analytics on top of it, some new experiences, all kinds of things to enhance sort of the fundamentals of how you use Terminus and get more value out of it. The second strategic priority is enhancing some of the functionality that is capabilities like retargeting and international targeting or IP domestically, just making those experiences easier, quicker to launch campaigns. And also really exciting is deeper measurement for things like retargeting. So you'll have like account level reports on your retargeting inside of Terminus. And the last thing, probably the biggest thing to talk about when it comes to the next release, is we're opening up the Terminus platform. We're building APIs and connectors into other MarTech tools that you use so that those tools can leverage the account intelligence from Terminus inside of those platforms, and we can take data from those platforms and bring it back into Terminus. So a ton of exciting stuff to share, but I'll just pique your interest with it now, and we'll come back to it at a later date.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for covering that, Brian. And yeah, some exciting stuff. So that wraps us up. I want to just quickly say thanks for sticking around. We're looking forward to getting into some of your specific questions and answers. To help us facilitate that process, we've got Shay on the line. So I'll turn it over to Shay to drive us through some Q&A, and looking forward to diving in more deeply with the stuff you guys want to dive in on.
All right. Thanks, Derek and Brian. That was great. Want to dive into some questions because we got a bunch of them in already. We got about 10 minutes so we can answer a handful. Several questions about view through conversions that kind of all boil down to, Brian, you mentioned different view look back dates. So can you talk a little bit about how long we can track those view throughs and what the longest view through look back date might be?
Yeah, so each customer, you guys can go in and actually configure the look back window, and there's a set of sort of prefix things like 7 days, 14 days, 90 days, and it goes into 100 and something days. So it's up to the control and basically kind of what you're looking to get out of the performance of ads and what you expect to drive to the website.
And a question on the sales alerts. So Derek, if you might want to speak to this one, asking about how that data relates to the account level data that we're already surfacing in Salesforce.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think if I think about how we use it on our floor here, it's really to help the reps understand what accounts are kind of increasingly engaged at an email level with some of the detail. But when you go into the account record inside Salesforce, you're able to do a lot more in terms of understanding what the journey has been and what content and what people are actually engaging specifically and how they're engaging. So think of it more like an alert with an ability to go get the details in the system and a way to keep the reps focused in on the accounts they should be looking at instead of having them find the data on their own.
And several questions about how can I get access to this feature. So I'll just kind of say blanketly, these are in various states of general availability, early access. The best way to get that detail is just to reach out to your CSM and figure out how you can get access both in early access or general availability. Also mention, just to reiterate, if you do have questions, I know that was a lot of content that Derek and Brian walked through. You can submit questions through the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side. A couple other questions here. So predictive data vendors. So we talked about Bombora intent. Are there other predictive data vendors we are already partnering with or considering for in the future?
That's a great question. I think, there's many kinds of intent data or behavioral data, if you will. whether it comes from your site or from people browsing the internet or from somewhere like a G2 crowd where someone's looking at a product. And so we've got a few different approaches in place to bring in some more data, and that's going to be part of our winter release, is having an additional kinds of signal around the behaviors of the accounts you care about.
And specific to the trended scorecard view that you showed, someone asking, will I be able to create my own dashboards based upon the scorecard metrics?
Yeah, so one of the things I'm really excited about on the scorecard is you can have instances of the scorecard running per different market segment you're going after, right? So if you have commercial versus enterprise or geography based, right? And so then imagine being able to build dashboards for different sort of go-to-market execution. So here's a dashboard that sort of shows top to bottom how accounts are performing through the revenue funnel. Are we meeting our goals? Do we have enough ops created in these accounts? And are they engaged? And what's our velocity look like? And so absolutely, you'll be able to build all kinds of custom dashboards and dashboard tiles, leveraging all those reports that I was showing to you guys.
So mentioned list-based hub for non-CRM customers, et cetera. Question about if there are plans to further integrate with other CRMs beyond Salesforce.
Yes, so we're planning to open up the Terminus platform more, so creating API layers and connecting into cloud integrator solutions that sort of make it easier for customers to get access to their data in other systems and get it into Terminus, and then get Terminus data into those other systems. And that list-based hub actually, really gets a lot of the way there by making it really easy to get data out of those systems. And so in our next release, as we open up the platform further, we're going to be building some of the hooks so that you as a customer, you don't actually have to figure out how you're going to get data out of your system and put it into Terminus. We'll be able to automate that.
Another view through conversion question: are there plans to show the individual contact that converted beyond just the account?
That is where we're headed for sure. So we've got the data, and it's just a matter of us sort of executing on our roadmap to connect all those dots. But yes.
Great. And last question I have here, it's another kind of future roadmap question, asking if there are plans for customers to be able to see site path and behavioral data that is coming from a Terminus ad click.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think once you see, it's kind of twofold, right? So you've got the view through people who didn't click, but they hit your site, and whether they clicked or not, you probably basically, the question still remains, which is, I want to see what path they took, so I understand how I'm influencing those people. And we're exploring how we've got the data, right? We're exploring sort of what would be the best way to expose that, and is that something that we want to expose more for the marketing, team to assess things and make decisions, or is that something more that the sales team would want to know? So I think we're honestly looking for some feedback here. So this would be a great area if we could, follow up with the person who asked that question. It would be, or others who have insights here. Love to kind of hear some more thoughts around it.
Great. Well, that's all the questions that I have that have come in. So we're coming in just under time. Really appreciate the time from everybody, and from you, Derek and Brian, walking us through. I know it's a lot of content, hopefully a lot of exciting content. Just a reminder, we will be shooting out a recording of today's webinar, so keep an eye out in the next couple of days for that. If you have any other specific questions that come up after the fact or as you watch through again, please reach out to your CSM. I'll also open my inbox. You can email me, Shea, S-H-E-A, @terminus.com, and I'll make sure that those questions get put in the right place. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.